Welcome to Scandalwater,
where we cover the stories that have captivated the entertainment world.
I'm Candy, a longtime educator and community theater actress.
And I'm Ashley, a writer and co-founder of a local theater group.
We're two friends who share a love of entertainment.
From true crime docuseries, to blockbuster movies, to classic TV, to Broadway shows, and everything in between.
Each week, I share a compelling story related to pop culture.
And I chime in using my trivia junkie brain.
We stick to the facts until it's time to settle into our armchairs at the end.
Then we're simply two women with a strong cup of tea and even stronger opinions.
We're Scandalwater.
And if this sounds like your cup of tea,
follow the show on your favorite podcast app or the Scandalwater Podcast YouTube channel.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
Cannot tell you how happy I am that we are starting a new month
Uh-huh.
and a new theme.
Uh-huh.
Who doesn't love October?
I mean, it's beautiful.
It really
The leaves
is.
are so nice. It's nice to leave those scammy women behind, too.
True, true. Although I do kind of find them fascinating,
Yeah,
I have to
definitely.
say.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know what? The weather has been cooperating as well because it's been a little cooler,
Yes.
which makes me feel a bit more fallish,
Right.
even though it's early September for us as
Right.
we're recording this. But I also love our theme for October, which is going to be things that go bump.
Yeah.
And we are starting with an episode that I know I'm more excited about this than you are.
No, it wasn't. I mean, they're gonna come after me. You're setting me up for people to come after me.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
They're going to have fun with this.
Yeah, they're gonna laugh at me because
They probably will.
They probably will laugh at me. But if you know me and if you've listened to the podcast, you can understand why I have never seen a single episode of The X-Files.
Which is our topic
Yes, our
today.
topic
The
today.
X-Files.
Because I thought I'd be scared. You know, when it came out, I was a teenager and I was like, nope, not doing it. But you gave me a very good episode to watch and she was so kind. She laid out anything that could potentially be scary to me and I watched it and it was fun. So I think I may go back and actually now watch The X-Files.
I think you'll enjoy it.
I think I
Especially
will.
if you have a heads up in
Right,
advance as
right,
to
right,
the
right.
ones that might be scary. Yes.
Right.
Well, we're going to come back to that episode that you did watch and talk
Yes.
about our impressions of that in just a minute.
Okay.
But first, you know I like a little hook.
You
so
do.
I thought I would start with a few fun facts about the X-Files. First of all, I did not realize it is one of the longest running sci-fi TV shows in history.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on several lists, it came in the top 5. Actually, I saw one. It's a MovieWeb article. It listed it as number 4. I know you always like
Yeah,
to...
I was waiting.
gonna
I was like,
say.
can I ask the question? Is it going to be okay? What's the top 3?
The third runner-up was Futurama.
Oh, okay.
Number 2 was a British show called Red Dwarf that I've never heard of, but I bet you can guess number 1.
Star Trek.
Doctor Who.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, longest running.
That makes sense,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, second fun fact. Because the X-Files showrunners, the creators, wanted to try to be as scientifically accurate as possible, they actually hired a number of scientists to be consultants for the show. One woman came up quite a bit because she did several interviews. It was a microbiologist named Anne Simon. So they had actual scientists on set
That's
to
very
help them
cool.
with their episodes when needed. Also, fun fact number 3, there were some amazing guest stars on this show.
Yeah, there were. Especially the one
Amazing.
you had me watch. I was like, oh, okay.
You want to tell them who it is?
Luke Wilson.
I love Luke Wilson.
And the kid from The Sandlot. I don't know
Yes,
his real name, but
I've
I was
got
like,
that.
it's the kid from The
I
Sandlot.
know, every episode almost you will recognize somebody. But just to give you a little flavor of some of the people that they had come on this show, here's a brief list, not all inclusive. Jack Black, Bryan Cranston, Lily Tomlin, Ed Asner, Burt Reynolds, Jane Lynch,
Reynolds?
yes, Minnie Driver, Octavia Spencer, Shia LaBeouf, and Peter Boyle.
Oh, Minnie Driver. That's sweet. That would have been like a little reunion for her and David Duchovny. I got to watch that episode.
Yeah,
I got to find out which one that
yeah.
is.
So number 4, this is one that people have probably heard of. I know I'd heard of this, but I hadn't ever actually looked it up. I didn't do a deep dive, just kind of a surface level Google. But there was something called the Scully Effect. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's what it is. The Gina Davis Institute on Gender in Media did a study in partnership with 21st Century Fox. This was back in 2018. And they found that women who were familiar with Agent Scully of the X-Files had a greater confidence in pursuing a STEM career.
I was gonna guess that if that's what the effect was, it's that more women were entering a scientific field.
Absolutely. More interest and more people who actually pursue
That's
careers
really cool.
in that field. Absolutely. And Gillian Anderson has spoken about this numerous times. Like, this is a thing.
That's cool.
This television show made changes.
That's really
for
cool.
women. Yeah. Finally, fast fact number 5, when the show first began airing in the 90s, this is something that came up before. I cannot recall what episode we would have mentioned this in, but I do remember discussing this.
Okay.
Gillian Anderson has also spoken quite a bit about this issue with pay equity that she experienced when the show first started. In fact, I don't even know how to phrase this, but she was even asked to stand several feet behind David Duchovny on camera. In the early days. They were like, don't stand beside him. It was this thing about he was the star. He was in his 30s. She was 24. She was very inexperienced, and I think it was this way of honoring the male star, and she was the female
Sidekick. She was a
sidekick.
sidekick.
She was the female sidekick. That's a good way to say it. And she stood up for herself. Now,
Good for her.
I don't know that she intended to make a social statement about this at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was just standing up for herself.
Yeah.
She did get the equal pay. And of course, she said she wasn't even sure if it was a conversation. She just stopped hanging back. She just started getting right on up there, and they just let it go because as the show went on, you definitely see them as equals. They are
Absolutely.
such partners in this, obviously. But she was disappointed when this issue came up again in 2015 when they were talking about doing the revival. They offered her less money again, and she stood up again and got the equal pay, is my understanding. But this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to follow this rabbit trail for just a second. As I was driving in here, I heard most of the podcast episode where Gillian Anderson, just at the end of 2024, went on David Duchovny's podcast called Fail Better, and they spoke openly about several different issues. I'm going to circle back to that in a minute.
Okay.
But one of the things she talked about was this, and she said, it was funny because she said she's been asked so many times about both pay equity and the Scully Effect. She said that she realized, this is more recently, she realized that somebody asked her a question and she was kind of like, oh my goodness, this again. Why am I always asked about this? And she said that it suddenly hit her, these are still issues.
Yeah.
These are still issues.
Yeah.
And if she can do something, if she can speak up, and if she can bring more awareness to this and hopefully inspire people or help to cause change, then why not?
Right.
Why not? So she said she's happy to talk about pay equity issues and empowering females and women going into STEM careers. It's something now that she's kind of really, she said, instead of running away from it.
She's embraced it.
Right. I'm going to run towards it.
That's good.
I loved that.
I did
yeah,
too.
Absolutely. That was a little longer than I intended, but I got excited. So those were our fast facts. Now I'm going to give you a brief summary. This is from a USA Today article. The X-Files is described in that article as a cult classic TV show. The X-Files introduced us to special agents Fox Mulder, played by David Duchovny, and Dana Scully, played by Gillian Anderson, back in September of 1993.
Wow.
Mulder, an Oxford-educated profiler for the FBI, believes in the existence of extraterrestrials and Sasquatches and vampires and everything in between. Scully is a medical doctor and a skeptic sent into that office in the basement to debunk spooky Mulder's work. And so what I would add to that, I thought that was a nice little summary, but I would add that the two work together in the X-Files unit, with X-Files being cases that are deemed unsolvable or low priority because they involve paranormal or unexplained phenomena.
Yeah, that sounds like a cool career. And I'm definitely the Mulder and you're definitely the Scully.
Do you remember the TikTok
Yes, I
we
do.
did?
Yes, I do. I thought, oh, that makes more sense now.
I thought that was fun. Yes. Well, the show premiered in 1993, as we've already said, and it was rated TV-14.
So little 13-year-old Ashley was like, nope, not watching this. I'm not even old enough.
Not interested. pass. One of the cool things is that the X-Files had a rotating group of writers and directors.
Oh,
So that's part of, I think, what kept it fresh was that different people would take turns doing those roles. And David Duchovny, in a different podcast episode where he interviewed creator of X-Files, Chris Carter, actually thanked him in that podcast episode for allowing him, David, to do some writing and directing for the show as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a big opportunity for him. So, our background with the X-Files. You've already shared.
I've shared.
You had
There is
none.
none.
Nobody in your family watched it. You didn't have friends or family that talked about it to you.
My mom did. She and I share a similar aversion to anything gross and bloody, and it like makes my stomach hurt. It makes me feel like nauseous or dizzy, like any kind of blood, anything.
Yeah.
And she said that she actually watched it to help her get over that, and it did help her get over it.
There's a name for that. What's it called? Like
I don't know.
Aversion therapy or something?
Maybe,
I'm
yeah.
not sure, but I loved it. I loved it. Kirk and I loved it. We watched, what they will say is many people believe season 3 was the peak, the best shows.
Is that that's from this? That's what I watched, right? One of the episodes from that season.
You did,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
The episode we're about to talk about
Okay.
came from season 3. So around this time, season 3, Kirk and I would have been rushing home to watch this every Friday night. We were huge fans. Now, I will say, I personally loved the early years of the X-Files. I wasn't as into it when some of the changes came along later, although the actors they brought in were fantastic. But I mean, losing David Duchovny, that was really hard.
Yeah.
And so my favorite years were the early years. I also loved the standalone Supernatural episodes way more than I did the conspiracy theory part
gotcha.
of it. But
Yeah.
although, especially in the early years, that was very intriguing to me as well. So
it sounds like sometimes things do have a shelf life. You know, maybe you should tell your story in less episodes, kind of thing, to make
maybe,
it.
but there may have been fans who
Loved it?
loved it from first episode to
last.
final, you
Okay.
know. And I will say, I'm still enough of a fan that when movies or reboots or different things are being talked about, I'm like, oh, tell me about this.
Okay.
You know? Okay, let's talk about the episode that we both watched. You for the first time, me as a rewatch.
Yeah.
What I decided to ask Ashley to watch is one of my all-time favorite
Oh, really?
episodes. It is called Bad Blood. And if you Google top 10 X-Files episodes, this one is going to come up, I think, on pretty much every list. People love this episode. It is kind of a he said, she said, and it is so fun. IMDb offered this brief summary for the episode. Scully and Mulder each recount their version of events that led Mulder to drive a stake through the heart of a Texas teenager he claims was a vampire. So that's the premise in a nutshell. And is it okay if we tell them, like, you were a little nervous about this?
Yeah.
To the point that I watched the episode and took notes.
Yeah, that's what I said. You took
every-
notes on everything that would make me scared.
Every
Yes.
single thing, every
Yes.
jump scare.
Yep.
You wanted the spoilers. I would
did.
say, it's okay. It's not.
Yeah, he's going to be okay.
He's going to be okay. Or all you're going to see is the face
Yes.
coming towards you and then it
Yes.
will fade out.
Yeah.
I mean, I broke it
You
all
were
down.
great.
Oh, thank you.
I felt very confident going into it.
Well, good,
Yeah.
good. Okay, so give me a few impressions.
Well, I put a couple days between what you told me so that I would know that everything's okay, but I wouldn't know exactly. So I gave a little bit of time so
Okay.
that I wouldn't know precisely. But when the guy was chasing the guy, I didn't know it was David Duchovny. When he's being chased through the woods and then it reveals him, I was like, oh no.
Right.
Oh
It
no.
was a great twist.
He just killed a kid. And then when the teeth came off and he wasn't a vampire, I was like, oh no, this guy just murdered somebody.
Yeah. Wasn't that a great hook?
It was a great hook. And then I didn't remember that Luke, or if you had told me I hadn't remembered that Luke Wilson was in it. When he showed up, I was like, Luke Wilson?
And the other guy, I have his
From
name
The Sandlot.
now. Yes, Patrick Renna. He played Ronnie Strickland, the teenage boy.
He's the one that says, you're killing me, Smalls, from The Sandlot. Yeah.
The humor.
It was a really
The
funny
humor.
episode. It was really cute and really, really funny. And I liked that we're allowed to say how it ended, right?
Absolutely.
I liked how it ended with, I'm kind of with Mulder on this one. It seems like that's actually what happened. I don't know. They left it sort of vague in that you don't know how it really ended. But somehow they're both okay, but we don't know why they're both okay. You know, like the kid really was a vampire? Like, yeah, because Luke Wilson was
Luke
also...
Wilson was a vampire.
He was a
Yes,
vampire too.
absolutely.
And when he had the twist of, he doesn't represent all of us, I thought, oh, not you.
Wasn't that great?
Yes.
I was like, they did such a good job of
Yeah.
building suspense.
Yeah.
To me, I hoped that you would love that episode as much as I did because, yes, the humor was there, but I also thought it was such a good example of the way they would build the suspense and they would make it very scary and very compelling while still holding to TV standards of what you're able to show or how graphic you're able to be, or, you know, all of those things that constrain people who are trying to make a scary show.
Right.
Yeah. Just one last comment I'll make was I wrote this in my notes because to me, what hit me was I felt like this really exemplified a lot of the things that people love about the X-Files. Within this one episode, you saw the quirkiness, you saw the supernatural elements, but yet, again, tame enough to still be on TV. You saw how they used great guest stars.
Yeah.
And I especially loved the glimpse of this relationship between Mulder and Scully because you see that they are clearly partners, both so competent, both who recognize the expertise and the competence in the other. They respect each other, but then there's this
playfulness.
Yes, the playfulness and a little bit of an attraction.
A little flirtiness.
Yeah, a little flirtiness. So it's all there.
And I noticed also, this is very superficial, but I noticed also how beautiful they both were.
Oh, yes.
So beautiful. Both of them. I was like, well, no wonder. Everybody just wanted to look at them. Who cares what they're saying? But I will say, you know, I noticed little weird stuff about actors. Gillian had a way at that point in her career of not moving her mouth very much. Did you notice how she talked? Like, how are you doing that? I was trying to mimic it. How are you keeping your mouth closed and yet I can understand everything that you're saying? It was wild.
Yeah, and I think that's partly her.
Yeah.
Like if you, like just
she
in
just talks
general,
that way.
Yes. But also, we're going to talk about this in a minute when we get to casting. They really liked how she could deliver scientific information and how she just was so believable as this intelligent woman.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Who knew her stuff. She was not the emotional. She was the logical, very scientific female. So I think that might have been part of it too. You're not going to see her just, you know, with big loud gestures and lots of movements. She's always very
controlled.
Contained. Yeah, very controlled. Yes. So how did the X-Files come to be? Back in 2008, when it was in conjunction with a movie that was coming out, Chris Carter, the creator of the X-Files, was asked in an interview for Smithsonian Magazine, what inspired you to write the X-Files? And his answer was, all the shows from my childhood. And then he went on to list a huge number of them. I'm sure there were more, but here are a few he named. Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yes.
Night Gallery.
Night Gallery.
Outer Limits. Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Oh.
And Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, that was a scary movie.
Yeah. And then he went on to comment, it's not a mistake that Dana Scully has red hair like Clarice Starling in The Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. He also went on to add, quote, so there were a variety of inspirations, but the idea itself came out of my religious background and my interest in science. My brother is a scientist. He's a professor at MIT. He brought science fiction into my world, but I am a person of faith, and so it's the combination of those two things.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that interesting? It kind of makes you think, now you can look back at some of the episodes or some of the things that occur and you're like, oh, okay, I see that. Back in 1994, which would have been not long after the show aired, there was an Entertainment Weekly article where Chris Carter had been talking to them, and in this article they shared the specific catalyst that prompted him to pitch the X-Files. Here's a quote from that article. The show originated when Carter read Harvard professor John E. Mack's commentary on the 1991 Roper Survey on UFO abduction, which suggested that at least 3.7 million Americans may have been shanghaied by extraterrestrials.
Nope.
Quote, everybody wants to hear that story, says Carter, who pitched the series to Fox shortly thereafter. Continuing his quote, abduction is tantamount to a religious experience.
Shoot, no, I don't want that. Nope.
Yeah. Well, what you may not know, not being a fan of the show, is that abduction idea is central to the X-Files.
Okay.
Part of Fox Mulder's backstory
Does he think he was?
No. Oh. Actually, back in 1973, when he was only 12 years old, he witnessed his younger sister, Samantha, being abducted from their family home by what he believed were alien beings. And
Did she come back?
No. And so that trauma, that whole experience in this show is what drives him.
Oh, it would me too.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you talk about the urgency and the investment in this.
Yeah.
It's what fuels his lifelong obsession with finding the truth. The truth is out there. He wants the truth about alien life. He wants to know if there is a government conspiracy where they're trying to hide this.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to know.
Do they solve that mystery within the show?
They can. That's an ongoing idea that they deal with. In fact, I'm going to come back to this later, but one of the unique things about the X-Files was it kind of had a serial feel to it. You would have standalone episodes that were supernatural,
but you're pursuing a full story.
Yes, but then you would follow these ongoing plot lines. And so, yes, this abduction idea and his pursuit of aliens and the government conspiracy
and his sister being missing
is an ongoing thing. So that same Entertainment Weekly article said that many of the scripts were inspired by actual events. And I'm assuming this would probably be a lot of the standalones, but maybe the ongoing as well. Who knows? But they gave an example. They said that a report by a London researcher who grew an extra limb on a salamander's back is what helped inspire the X-Files creator Chris Carter's episode about a man with a salamander-like hand. Chris Carter was quoted as saying, "I'm trying to play with real scientific ideas, like Crichton cloning dinosaurs."
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So, very cool. Let's talk about the cast.
Okay.
Let me remind you again that we did have some really big lead actors who came into the show as the years went on, and especially after David left. But to simplify this, and for sake of time, I'm only going to hit on a small handful of the key actors in the early years.
Makes sense.
So, forgive me if I've left out one of your favorites, listeners. David Duchovny, obviously. Lead. He played Fox Mulder, and he was only 32 when he was cast to play Fox in the pilot. David already had some projects on his resume, as we've said. He already had a little star power. His most notable was probably his role in Twin Peaks, because Twin Peaks was not long before this, and that got a lot of buzz.
Okay.
And so I think that was probably what made him...
For me, his most notable is Return to Me, but that was after this, in the year 2000. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I've already mentioned this. David has a podcast called Fail Better with David Duchovny, and just this past June 3rd, there was an episode that came out. It was his interview with Chris Carter. The title of the podcast is Chris Carter Wants You to Believe, and I'm going to share a couple of different clips from this podcast episode as we go through our episode. The first one is right now. In this little clip, you're first going to hear, they're going to make, the two of them are discussing chemistry between Gillian and David. They make a brief comment about that, and then they move into talking about David's audition.
Okay.
Here's, for me, the chemistry was that I was writing a smart character, two smart characters, and you were both smart people, and you're one of the smartest people I know. So it was a dream come true.
Okay, you didn't answer the question. That's fine.
What's the, maybe I didn't understand the question.
No, it's a compliment. I'm just dodging the compliment. That's my problem. But here's what...
You're cute, too.
Oh, that was the other fail. Chris wanted me to get this part.
Yeah.
Right? So I had to test for it, though. I had to convince the suits that I was the guy. And there was a line in the pilot, in the description, where you described Mulder as like more MTV DJ than like FBI. So I was like, oh, he's a bit irreverent, whatever. So I came to the test wearing a pig tie. Some reason I had a tie with these pigs on it. And I just remember your face when you said, because you're testing for a role. The executives are not imaginative. You should come in and look as much like that role as you can. And no FBI agent is going to be wearing a pig tie.
Did you ever see what Gillian gave me? She gave me the sheets from those the Randy Stone casting sessions, where I had made my notes next to the actors, what I thought about.
By Duchovny, pig tie. Fuck him.
Yes. I said it was written simply yes. So I knew you were Mulder. And you and I actually, I don't know if you remember this, but we left the casting session. I actually talked to you outside, and I said, "You're good. I want to take you to the network." And I said, I said the stupidest thing. I said, "I want you to start thinking like an FBI agent."
Yeah, I remember that.
So I let you hear a little bit more of them speaking, because doesn't it show David Duchovny's personality?
It does.
He's very dry.
And he's very self-deprecating.
Yes. Yes.
A pig tie.
But I also thought it was interesting to hear Chris Carter knew. Like,
Yeah.
he just wrote a big yes on this paper. You are Fox Mulder.
Sometimes you just know.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about Gillian. Gillian Anderson, of course, played Dana Scully. She was only 24
Wow,
when
that's
she was
young.
cast in the pilot. Yeah. And I think she only had one other notable movie or whatever it was. Not even sure what her project was, but I think she only had one other thing on her resume other than like theater acting or some, yes. But Chris fought for her to get that role. Remember, this is back in the early 90s. The studio heads wanted somebody, this is their word, they wanted somebody sexier. They wanted the sexy sidekick character.
Yeah.
And Chris said, no.
That's not who this is.
No, Gillian is perfect to play this intelligent, this intense scientific woman, Dana Scully. And as we said, she could deliver the scientific lingo too. She was perfect. So he fought and he got her
Isn't
that part.
nice when people will fight for you? If they have influence, they go to bat for you. That's just so complimentary.
Absolutely. And just think about what a different show it would be if they
Yeah.
had gone with,
The sexy one.
right, kind of their conventional path that they took back in the day, and just we wouldn't be talking about the women empowerment.
Probably not.
Right, yeah. So Mitch Pileggi played FBI assistant director Walter Skinner.
That was
And-
the bald guy with the glasses,
Yes,
right? Okay,
absolutely. He said that he almost didn't get the job because of his bald head. He said
Aw.
for some reason they didn't have that image of him, but then they saw his work and they decided
thought he was great.
right. Yeah, he was. He was fantastic. But a fun little side note is that he met his wife while he was shooting the X-Files. He met her on set. Arlene Warren was Dana Scully's body double when they first met.
Oh.
So she's on the set filling in for Gillian Anderson as this body double, and she catches his eye, and he said, I'm interested in her. I think I'm going
Aw.
to marry her. And they did, of course, hit it off. After they married, she got to play a small role as Agent Skinner's secretary.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yes, actually, I should give him full credit. He wasn't just Agent Skinner. He was FBI Assistant Director Skinner. So there you go.
Good for him.
Yes. The Smoking Man was played by William B. Davis, and he was originally supposed to only be in the show for the pilot.
Now,
It was-
I did not see him in this episode, did
Right,
I?
right.
Okay, yeah.
That yes, he was not
What
in
is
every
his character?
episode.
What is the smoking man?
He was he kind of turned into a villain,
Ooh.
and he was part of the ongoing government conspiracy
Okay.
thread
Okay.
that they followed.
Okay.
Yes. So originally, he again would have been an extra only in the pilot episode, not a recurring character, but they saw the potential.
And they
you
brought him
know,
back.
and yes, they did. And then he started showing up periodically. You would see the Smoking Man.
That's also something to aspire to. You're a character that's just supposed to be like this one-off, and you impress people so much, they're like, you know what? Let's put you in the whole show.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a compliment.
Absolutely. And then the last, this isn't even a person, this is a group, but the last people I'll mention were the Lone Gunmen. Okay, they were played by Bruce Harwood, Tom Braidwood, and Dean Hagland. And Wikipedia describes the Lone Gunmen in this way. Described as countercultural patriots, they are ardent conspiracy theorists, government watchdogs, and computer hackers who frequently assist central X-Files characters Mulder and Scully, though they sometimes have their own adventures.
Ooh.
So it was these three fellas who kind of came across as being geeky,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
but,
yeah, that
but
sounds
so
like it.
so fun. And they were fan favorites. When the Lone Gunman would appear in an episode,
They
the
loved it.
fans were all over it.
Aw.
To the point that they actually attempted to give the Lone Gunman a spinoff. It aired in 2001, and actually people, in one of the sources I saw, it said people were pretty excited about it, but their ratings dropped a little bit, and the show was canceled very quickly.
You know, sometimes when you have a character like that you love and you try to make them a lead, they're not supposed to be lead, they're supposed to be the flavoring. You know, does that make
Yeah,
sense? They're
yeah.
better as the flavoring than as the main course.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a weird way to point that out, but that's what
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense. Well, why don't we stop there?
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll get into some more interesting stuff.
Okay. There's not much we love more than spilling the tea with you every Tuesday. So, we've decided to occasionally take a moment to thank a few of our supporters who help make this possible.
Along with the fun, producing a weekly podcast also brings with it more time and expense than you might expect. Your financial generosity in becoming a member through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, both of which can be found on our our website or social media accounts allows us to keep creating these episodes.
We'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to one of our current members, Sherry. As a thank you, Sherry and anyone else who becomes a Scandal Water supporter will receive perks like discounts on merch and access to exclusive bonus content, such as our minisodes.
If you'd like to hear your name on that roster, become a member using one of the links on social media or on our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com.
Until then, we lift our cup to you, Sherry.
Cheers! So before we go on, just a quick word about the theme song.
Oh yeah, that's a very iconic theme song.
That is the exact word that I had written down in my notes. What I saw is that it was actually composed by a man named Mark Snow, who was nominated for many awards, but he passed away sadly just a few months ago at age 78. And in a tribute I saw, People magazine pointed out that despite everything this man had accomplished, most people know him best for creating the X-Files theme song. Something that they brought out was that he tried something a little different. He had that heavy use of synthesizers, and there was kind of like this whistling sound. There was a whole story of how he created that. But this became a global hit, and even to this day, it's kind of popular in memes or things.
I like the theme song. It was really good.
It really is good. Let's talk about something that we've already touched on already. The fact that X-Files was so groundbreaking. Because, and remember, this came out in 1993. Like, in some ways, this is like pre-internet.
Yeah, the greatest year of cinema.
Here we are again. But it was so different from other TV shows that were out at that time in many ways, So I'm going to bring up another clip from the podcast where David and Chris are talking about one way that it was different and the reason behind that difference.
So they knew it was different. They planned it that way.
Well, you'll hear.
I've heard you say, and I think it's true, that the reason that the X-Files was so scary in the beginning was because we couldn't afford to show the scary things. It had to be dark.
Well,
dark. He was from New Zealand.
That is a great story.
And in those, and again, it's instructive, which we sometimes go for on this show, which is, again, in limitations.
Yeah.
You don't need, if you have a small budget, you have to figure your way around the scare. And that explained, or that drove, the X-Files when it first aired was so dark compared to any other show on television.
Both,
and I'm talking about literally.
Yeah.
And that became its trademark, and that became the art of it.
Yeah.
And that's an example where you're given a weak hand, a failing hand, and you turn it into a winner.
I felt like that hit on so many different things in just, what was it, like 1 minute of a conversation? But they were talking openly about the fact that it was dark. Like,
do they mean not lit well, or do they mean the subject matter? Because he said literally, and I thought, well, which literally do you mean?
Yeah, Chris was talking about it being dark in both ways.
Okay.
Dark as in the content.
Okay.
This was some scary material. They pushed some boundaries with the scary stories that they were able to cover on television. But David Duchovny was bringing out the fact that it was visually darker than anything else you were seeing on TV at that time. And part of the reason was because they didn't have the budget to make things scary. So how do you make it scarier?
Turn off the
lot
lights.
of it happens in the dark.
Yeah.
And it also made me think of something that we have come back to probably 10 times. The Jaws.
Yes,
the
I
Jaws
thought of that
strategy.
immediately.
It's like sometimes it's scarier
in your
what
mind.
you don't show. Right. It's how you stage it. All of those different things. And so I thought, okay, that's really interesting.
That was.
David Duchovny said it became like a trademark for them. Another thing that made them different was Chris Carter has pointed out many times that he and the X-Files team basically had to make a mini movie every week. And back then, their seasons would have like 20 to 25
That's a lot of episodes.
While being constrained by television's parameters. So,
Golly.
I just can't even fathom. I mean, so much work.
That
so
is a
much
huge
time.
workload for everybody. The actors, the directors, the editors. That's a breakneck pace.
Absolutely. A BBC article I found points out yet another way that the X-Files was unique, but we've already previewed this. We've already hinted at this. It's that idea of the serialization, okay? But here's a quote from that article that I thought was interesting. There was an ongoing story arc, which was something of a novelty at the time. These so-called mythology episodes, usually timed to sweeps weeks, involved an alien invasion of Earth, which spanned all 9 seasons and mostly came about because of Anderson's unexpected pregnancy toward the end of season 1.
Oh. Oh.
These installments, with their labyrinthine plots and rogue gallery of recurring characters like the cigarette smoking man, anticipated the strict serialization of the binge watch era.
That is so true.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
Like it just makes you see things in a whole new light when somebody points something out like that. Yeah. But the article went on to say that despite the ongoing serial plots, the series did also regularly include those standalone episodes that we've talked about, which focused more on monsters and supernatural events rather than alien type invasions and government conspiracies. And I think that that's knowing your audience, because you had us both ways. We're invested in this ongoing plot line.
The storyline.
Yes, we're invested in that. But then you're also meeting our desire for the quirky little scary story here and there that got neatly wrapped up in that 1 hour episode.
You know, it reminds me of 2 other series that come to mind, and they were both post this. It was, I think the first one was Monk. You remember the Monk, where they would have these cases, but the ongoing story is he is trying to figure out who killed his wife.
Yeah.
And that's always at the back of his mind. And also in the show Castle, they had their weekly serial, or they had their weekly standalone episodes, but some of them would connect back to she's trying to figure out, I think, who killed her mother, or she knows who killed her mother. She's trying to catch the person that killed her mother. So yeah, that works.
Yeah, it does work. It worked really well for this one. So now let's talk about, I don't know, it's probably one of the most sensational things that people will talk about related to the X-Files, which was the tension between the leads. David
Tension
Duchovny.
as in hostility?
Well, I don't know if you'd call it hostility, but it was bad.
Did they not get along?
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah, and it's funny because if you read reviews of the X-Files, especially in the early seasons, whether these are reviews written by fans or written by critics, you will see time and time again people talk about the chemistry between Mulder and Scully being one of the top reasons that this thing works. Like, people love their chemistry. And you saw it.
Yeah.
Their chemistry is
it was
amazing.
Great. They were fantastic together.
They were fantastic together. But in real life, it was terrible. In fact, let me play. This is so brief, but just so that you hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
I'm going to play one more little clip from that podcast that David has where he and Chris are touching on this.
For the fans, there was a time when Chris wanted Gillian and I to go to couples therapy. I'm not sure if he meant it as a fictional television couple or a real-life couple that were trying to...
No, you guys were at odds.
Absolutely we were. But this was very early, too.
Yes, and I mean, sometimes on set, and so, it was, that kind of thing rocks a crew.
Yeah.
If there's tension, and you guys are the center of tension, if there's tension in that relationship, everyone knows it, and it affects...
Oh, yeah, I think the impulse was good.
Yeah.
We should try and get along if we can, but just the idea has always struck me as so funny. The idea that we would go to couples therapy as fictional people, but we never did.
When I was queuing that up, you asked me...
How are you able to have amazing chemistry on screen and then hate each other off screen? How are you able to do that?
So as I was driving in, I told you I heard Gillian Anderson on his podcast.
So they're talking?
Openly talking about it. In fact, this will make you feel better. They're great friends now.
Okay, good.
They get along well now.
Okay.
In fact, I believe, if I recall, it was around 2008 or 2016 when they were making one of their
Movies?
follow-up projects or the revival, one or the other, that they really became
Well, gosh, that's
pretty
like
tight.
16 years,
Yeah.
16, 20 years into it.
Oh, it was bad.
Oh,
It was
man.
bad. In fact, in that interview, when they are speaking very openly about this tension, and they're both being so calm about it, so vulnerable, so open, they were saying they would not speak to each other on set. Like, they would go so long without it. In fact, here is a direct quote from Gillian. I mean, it's crazy that we were able to present on camera, the various feelings and emotions and attraction and all that kind of stuff, but then not speak to each other for weeks at a time.
Oh my goodness.
Weeks at a time.
Weeks at a time. That's got to be so miserable on the set. If you've got these, like Chris Carter said, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
You feel this, and it's a miserable work environment.
Yeah, it was bad. And they were apologizing to each other in a way during this big, long conversation. It was really kind of, as an X-Files
Healing.
fan, it made me feel better. I think it made them feel better too, because they were openly saying things like, I don't know that we ever sat down. I don't know about your childhood. We never talked about things like that. Even though they would say, we have a bond that nobody else has. In some ways, we are closer to each other than to some other, anybody else,
family,
right? Because of what we've shared.
And the long work hours.
Right. David went on to tell a story. He said, I tried to think of, one of the most dysfunctional moments of, our relationship. What was one of like the worst moments? This was following up on her saying that the communication was such a problem. She's identified communication being such a problem. And he follows up with, here's this example that came to my mind. He said it was after some awards ceremony that they'd had. He had rented, was that the word you use? I guess hired, but he had a private plane.
Oh.
And he was at this awards ceremony together. So she was riding with him. He had hired it for both of them to use. And I think it was the day they were leaving. She's late. And he said he's furious because she's late. And she gets on the plane. He said it's a private plane. It's basically the two of them on this plane. And he said they rode in silence.
Oh my goodness.
And she writes him a letter. And he says, and this is in this podcast interview, he says it was a lovely letter. It was like saying things like how much she appreciated this or how much she enjoyed that or he did such a good job with this. It was like this very complimentary letter that she then handed him. But he said, we're sitting together on a private plane and we could not speak.
Wow.
Like you had to write a letter to tell me what you were feeling or what you were thinking.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't communicate with her. He even said what happened was there was a revival, by the way, in 2016. They did several new episodes. And then I can't remember why, but I think none came out in 2017, but more did come out in 2018. Not sure. I didn't really dig into that. But basically, at the end of that revival, Gillian was the one who said, I don't want to do it anymore. Right? So he's the one who had quit the X-Files.
Okay.
She's the one who comes back on the revival and says, I'm done.
And they're getting along at the revival point?
Yes.
Okay.
They are. Now, I don't know that they're fast friends, but they are definitely getting along.
Yeah.
But the point is, in this podcast interview, he says, I don't think I ever talked to you. He said, when I said I was leaving the show, he said, I quit the show. He said, I quit the show. He goes, I don't think I ever talked to you. I think I just quit the show. And he goes, and I have to ask you, like, I'm guessing that had to hurt.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
He said, I'm really sorry. He goes, I never thought about it at the time. He said, in fact, he goes, it wasn't until you quit the revival, he said, that I realized, wow, she's quit me. She's quit me. She's quit the show. She didn't talk to me. And does she not like working with me? Does she not want to be around me? Does she not think I'm doing a good job? Like, he said, that's when I realized I never talked to her.
That's what I did to her.
Yeah, and so they were just having this really
I'd like to hear this
nice,
podcast.
vulnerable conversation. And I made it to the end of that part. I listened to I ran out of time because I got here, but I listened to like the first 40 minutes of it, and they were moving on to other topics. So I think I heard all the good stuff.
Okay.
And I was so glad I did. But,
Yeah.
Okay, so the good news is they appear to be great now.
Good.
But it was a thing.
That's
it wasn't
terrible.
just rumors. I mean, it was a thing.
Oh.
So what happened with the show? We've already kind of touched on this, but after it peaked in the late 90s, it started to decline. Various factors, of course, played into that. Everything from David's departure and, having to kind of revamp the storyline, bringing in new people. Over time, different writers would be, they'd be hired away, all kinds of different things. But the series ended in 2002. Now, we've already mentioned that there were some movies. The X-Files Fight the Future came out first. Then a second movie came out in 2008, but the response to that did not meet expectations. It was a little disappointing. And then, we've already said, in 2016, there was a revival of the series with new episodes released in 2016 and 2018. And what I am seeing
is there another one?
There is talk right now, as far as I understand. Gillian Anderson has even commented on it. So has David. Actually, so has Chris Carter. So this is something that they are trying to do. Word has it that Ryan Coogler, who directed the very popular movie Sinners, would be in charge of this reboot. And Gillian Anderson has even said, I don't know that they're considering having Mulder and Scully back. I think it's more like a
new generation.
Yeah, some kind of a new version. But who knows? Who knows where they'll go with it? But she said she would not be opposed to doing a little something with it. That was her wording. And Chris Carter has endorsed it.
Okay.
So there you go. We are ending with a promise of
something.
Not a promise. The potential.
A hint.
Yes, the potential for maybe something to come.
Interesting. I have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
Armchair Psychologist.
For our armchair, it's a little tricky because here I am a big fan and here this is new to you.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask you,
Okay.
based on what I've shared,
Yeah.
based on the one
Just
episode
the one,
you've
yeah.
seen, what are your thoughts about the success of the X-Files?
I think we always go back to something that's new and novel.
Mm-hmm.
That's always, if you're a trendsetter, it's because you're the first one to do it. So it sounds like the combination of their excellent acting chops, really interesting story. It was just all the right ingredients at the right moment. And the stories were interesting and it was different. And I think that's potentially why it was successful. What do you think as a person who is a long-term fan? And then I have a second question for you.
Oh, okay. I think I've already touched on it. I think the chemistry between Mulder and Scully was
Yeah.
all important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yes, I am a person who likes scary stories that you have the promise of a happy ending.
Oh, I like that
you,
too.
You knew that they were going to be okay.
Yeah.
Scully and Mulder are going to be fine. It's basically like every week you felt like they got to solve a mystery, but that had some suspense.
Kinda like
and some-
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just really satisfying. And I loved the characters. And yes, they came up with some really intriguing storylines. And there would be times, there was the episode that Peter Boyle was in is widely recognized by many to be their strongest episode. And I remember crying through that. But there were times they made me laugh, they made me cry. I did root for them to become romantically involved.
Yeah. That probably was making them miserable as they were doing it. Now that you know that they're like, great.
Yeah. But it was just really good, especially, like I said, in those early years.
Awesome. My follow-up question for you
Okay.
is from an acting standpoint. So I want you to put on your acting hat as an actor. What would you rather do? Because from what this sounds like, this has taken up the bulk of their lives. From 93 to it is 2025, and there's still thoughts of it.
Well, yes, although both of them have had lots of
Sure,
other projects,
absolutely.
big ones.
But
yes.
they have, this has been a role that they have done a lot with.
Yes, absolutely.
In your acting world, if you could choose, this is just a fun question. If you could choose to be in a show like the X-Files, pick your own thing, but it is going to be a worldwide global phenomenon, but that's all you're ever known for.
Oh, goodness.
Or would you like to be a journeyman actor who's in a ton of different stuff, but you may not be recognized, or you may not be like, oh, that. You get what I'm saying?
We have some amazing character actors out there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And it is such a skill, it is such a talent to be able to step into any role, any show, and just be able to be so real, to be so authentic, to be so believable. So I have a lot of respect for character actors, but I have to
wanna
say,
say it, yeah.
yes, I want to go for like
Yeah.
I
You want to be known as Dana Scully,
Yes.
yeah, or whoever.
I will be Dana.
Yeah,
I'll be Dana.
It's kind of the same question. I think of this question because of Dirty Dancing. Jennifer Grey is known for Baby.
Absolutely.
So or Vivian Leigh and Gone with the Wind. Would you rather be Vivian Leigh and Gone with the Wind for the rest of your life, no matter what else you do? You're always known for this, or would you rather be like, I'm a journeyman actor? I don't know.
Well, first I want to hear your answer, and then I have one. Actually, I'll say my thought and then I'll hear your
Okay.
answer. I think the problem would be for me if I was a journeyman actor who was always chasing a lead role.
Oh, sure.
Because then if I were that person, then maybe I would always feel like I was chasing something and never feeling like I actually achieved what I wanted.
Yeah.
If I was very satisfied and felt very fulfilled in that role, then I
Yes.
think that would be very different.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would matter to me. I would probably rather be Scarlett O'Hara for the rest of my life than to feel like I never really got what I was trying
I'm
for.
kind of with that too. Like if in my theater career, the only lead role I've ever had so far has been Annie Sullivan. That was many years ago, but I adored that role. I adored her. If that's all I'm ever known for, if somebody saw me in the street and said, "You were Annie Sullivan," that would be enough for me. Like
You would be excited.
I
Yeah,
would be
you'd
super
straight
excited. Yeah. Or if somebody if I was Baby in Dirty Dancing, yeah, I was. Absolutely, I was. You know, that kind of thing. And it wouldn't even be for the fame kind of thing. It would just be like, hey, they know who I am. They enjoyed it.
Yes.
It meant something to them. That's cool.
Yes,
I
I
think I'd be there
achieved
too.
something like that.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that brings us to a close. I really have to cheers
Absolutely.
David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. Chris Carter too. Let's just go for the trio.
little trio.
That's
I'm
right.
very glad they all get along now.
Yeah, the truth is out there. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown.
That's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music, Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reeve, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.